As usual, we'll give people a couple of minutes. Guido, I realize that I'm not in my admin account, and so I can't see
Okay,
chat or anything, so I'm going to go out and get back in 30 seconds.
makes sense. Hi, everyone. We'll see some people joining, so we're gonna wait a couple of minutes, and then we'll start. As always, we'd love to know where are people joining from. So, if by any chance you can post a comment or leave where are you joining from, that would be great. I'm in Argentina right now, so while we wait for Jeff and the others, Jeff is here.
I'm back. I'm
Hi,
back.
Jeff.
We'll see how this goes. It's surprising to me. This is the first time we've had technical difficulties, at least on my end. But now
We've
we're back.
done a bunch of this, right? So first
Yeah,
time.
we've been on here weekly for the last 6 months. So doing okay.
It's actually our 18th webinar, so lots of
18. Well, there you go. I see some familiar names in the chat and some familiar places. Some people who have been to many of those 18, which is great. Although we never know for sure whether the names are accurately matched to the comments, since the software sometimes has a little bit of trouble.
That's not our fault. Yeah.
We'll give people another couple of minutes. Just as people are streaming in, I'll mention that we usually aim to do these things in just about 45 minutes. We're usually doing a bite-sized topic that is coverable in that amount of time and pretty self-contained. This time, I expect there will be more questions, and it is a more broader topic, a more far-reaching topic with less well-defined boundaries. And so we may go over if there are questions and if people find it interesting. We're not necessarily doing that, but we do have the capacity to do that if we need to. So don't hesitate to ask questions as we go, and we'll see how it goes. Guido, what do you think? Should we give people another minute, or should we dive in?
Let's wait 30 seconds, and I think we could begin if you're okay.
We've got a geographical variety here. I see Chris from Nashville, some California folks, OKC. Hey, Steve. Unsurprising to see some California people, but always nice to see everybody from around the country. This morning, so far, I've had calls with advisors from Omaha and Southern California, Austin, and the New Jersey, New York area. So I see a question from, I think, Khaled about whether this is helpful for folks who are trying to reduce personal taxes too. What I'll say, Khaled, is I think it will be helpful in the sense that you'll learn a lot about the tools that we offer to help you identify and evaluate strategies. It is definitely geared toward advisors. And I'm going to talk a lot about, Guido and I are going to talk a lot about how we work with advisors, but we're also going to be doing a walkthrough case study using our tools. And I think it would be helpful for you to sit through and see how we do that as well. But also fine to watch the recording and speed through to those parts if you want to. All right. Well, we've filibustered enough, Guido. Why don't we I guess kick it off? Yep. We've kind of launched in already, but I see a bunch of familiar faces and some new ones. I'm Jeff. I've got Guido here with me. I'm part of Valur's founding team. Been here since before day one, and many of you will have heard this spiel before. But I run product here at Valur as well as partnerships, although that's not there on the headline. What that means is that I'm working with our team. I'm a lawyer by background, and I'm working with our team to help identify potential strategies to offer to your clients, and then to translate them to the platform and all of the tools that we'll show you today. And I've got Guido here with me. Guido's our crack chief of staff, jack of all trades. Many of you have talked to him. He works with our advisor partners quite a bit, and definitely wanted you all to know his face as well, since you'll be talking to him too. Mostly the plan here is for me to walk through the way Valur approaches these things and talk a little bit about our tools, show you a bit of a demo, answer questions, and Guido, of course, will be chiming in with thoughts and questions and things like that. So jumping right into the agenda, I want to spend 2 or 3 minutes on why this matters. As we were brainstorming how to approach this session, thinking through the fact that a lot of you will have heard us talk before, we wanted to do things a little bit differently and not really repeat the things we say to you on our one-on-one calls, but really dig into some different kind of issues. And one that we really don't talk about enough, I think, is why does tax strategy matter for advisors specifically? And then what's the problem space? Why is this hard? Why are you all here looking for a new solution when for hundreds of years there have been estate lawyers, trust lawyers, tax lawyers, accountants, and trust companies doing this? And so we'll dig into that, and then we'll do a little case study showing you how you use our tools to evaluate strategies, and we'll have a particular client in mind, someone that we just worked with yesterday. So it'll be concrete. We'll show you some of our document drafting and implementation tools to really, again, make this solid and show you how we actually do things. We'll talk a little bit about how we administer trusts, pricing, things like that. And then, of course, we'll leave time for Q&A, but really don't hesitate to chime in as we're going. If you have questions, we'll weave those in seamlessly. So kicking it off, why does this matter to advisors? Well, we know why it matters to clients, right? The reason this matters to clients is that there's a bunch of money that people are leaving on the table, right? People are earning a ton of money these days. You've all got clients who are earning mid 6 figures, high 6, 7 figures, up into the 8 figures per year, who are selling, appreciated private stock, cryptocurrency. The public stock markets have gone crazy, and paying a ton of taxes on it. You all know that there's room to save here. Why does that matter for you? It should be, I think, obvious, but I really want to drive it home. We think of the value that you can add using our tools in 2 ways. One is you can actually help your clients and show them that you're being proactive here. You can come to them with solutions that will save them money. We often hear from advisors whose clients have asked them about these solutions or even mentioned Valur to them, and that's great. If your clients do that, I love it, and then come to us. But even better, come to our tools proactively, check them out, run your client's information, and we'll show you how. And then you can go to them and say, I can save you $125,000 this year, or I can earn you an extra $4.3 million over the next 20 years with a tax plan. So let's talk about it. And then the maybe slightly more subtle way this matters for you, I think you all get this, but just to drive it home, especially if you're a financial advisor as opposed to a CPA, is that the more money that the clients save, the more AUM there is, of course, right? If they've got $1 million stock sale, you'd rather they not pay taxes because then they're investing $1 million. And that's something that maybe goes under the radar a little bit, right? You get more AUM because you're keeping your clients, they're staying on your platform and investing money with you. But there's literally a bigger pot if you can save money on taxes. And in fact, that pot can be millions or even tens or hundreds of millions of dollars bigger over a client's lifetime. And so this is really important for both of you. The challenge that we'll get into today is that the solution is not obvious. Not only are the strategies hard to identify, right? There's an alphabet soup out there of solutions for each of the big old buckets of tax problems, whether it's ordinary income, capital gains, or estate tax. You might not know an idjit from a grat, from a slat, from an eyelet, or you might, but you might not know when they apply to a particular client. So that's the first hard problem. And there's not a great solution out there to help you really evaluate and figure out, which of these is going to apply to which clients. And then even if you do, even if you're great and you know this stuff really well, and many of you do, and then you suggest that a client pursue an idjit or a CRUT, and they say, yes, great, I love it, I'm glad you added that value, you still then have to do it. And right now, or before Valur, what that meant was piecing together a team, going to a local lawyer to draft a trust and to advise the client on what they should be doing, then hoping that the lawyer does things like get your tax ID number, register the trust. You would have had to go to an accountant to do some of the accounting work, but not all of it, because most accountants can't do this across all types of trusts. Maybe you needed a trust company if you wanted to cite one of these trusts in South Dakota, or just if you wanted help running the thing. And so what we're going to talk about today is how does Valur solve both of those problems?
Just to add something there, Jeff, it is important to understand that we leverage from our own tech to do all this. So Jeff's now going to tell more about Valur and everything, but it's super important to understand that, okay, how can we do this? It's through technology, and it's created through yourself and a whole lot of people.
That's absolutely right. This historically has been a purely human endeavor, right? No one was using any technology. 3 or 4 years ago, as we were really ramping up and talking to lawyers all the time and clients, what we found was that most lawyers were still collecting information from clients by sending them a Word document and asking them to type in their personal financial information, right? They were drafting things by hand, typing them out, or maybe they had a template that had been, collecting dust for 30 years. Trust companies are running these trusts, administering them by hand. They've got human accountants behind the scenes. And as a result of that, errors are made and the ball gets dropped. We'll talk about this a little bit, but we take over trusts every week from other accountants, lawyers, trust companies where the clients, our new clients, are leaving either because their tax filings didn't go in on time, or there were errors, or even worse, bigger picture, the trust was done incorrectly because of human error. They requested a NIM CRUD. It turns out it was drafted as a standard CRUD. Or they requested an ideate with certain beneficiaries, and those beneficiaries weren't mentioned at all. Those are huge errors that happen when humans run these things. And our entire goal here is to remove that error, make this more efficient, and importantly, to make it less expensive and to lower those barriers to entry via technology. We'll talk about all of that here. So what do we do? This is a question that, as the kind of head of product and having drafted all of our website copy and all of this, I cringe to hear it because it means we're not doing a good enough job. But it's an important question. And the answer to what does Valur do? How do we add value here? How do we help? Is fourfold. And it really is covering the entire process of tax planning and implementation. So, and I'm going to show you the tools that we have for each of these steps, but let me run through it quickly, the whole process. What do we do? The first thing that we do is we help you and your clients ideate, come up with strategies, look at the available list, the menu of strategies, narrow it down to a few that might make sense. And then importantly, and you can of course read about them on our platform, we've written almost 1 million words on these subjects. You can use our guided planning tools, which I'll show you, to get that menu and to read more and to compare. But then really importantly, we think this is a quantitative game. Most lawyers, no lawyers are out here giving you a dollar for dollar estimate of how much these strategies are going to save. And I promise you, most of them haven't even thought about it. We have, and we do, and we give you the tools. And so what I'll show you today is how you can evaluate these strategies, both against each other, really importantly, comparing an ideate to an ideate or a CRUT to a CLAT. And then also drilling down on the individual strategies and seeing how they compare to the naive strategy of doing nothing, which is ultimately what the clients are going to ask. Great, you're pitching me on this CRUD. How much is it going to save me as compared to if I just didn't do it, if I just paid my taxes and went on my way? We're going to give you those answers down to the dollar, making some assumptions that you give us about your client's situations, and we'll show you all of that. Once you've gotten the idea, you've evaluated and you've decided, or your clients decided, hey, here's a strategy that makes sense for me. Let's do it. Let's do a CRUT, a charitable remainder trust. This is the part that maybe isn't as obvious from our materials that people are surprised about. We implement. We actually do the trusts in-house. What that means is we leverage our internal systems to take your client's information via a very quick and lightweight onboarding process. It takes the client about 10 minutes, or even you can do this for them, about 10 minutes to fill in the information. And we draft those documents in-house with technology, again, to make them perfect, to avoid human error, and to get them to you quickly and easily. We draft all of our trusts within 24 hours, and actually we're about to push an update within the next week or two that'll get that down to 15 minutes. And so you'll have an annotated, explainable trust in your hands and in the client's hands 15 minutes after you do onboarding, which is obviously orders of magnitude quicker than anyone else. We also administer the trusts. And this is the point about not having to go out and put together a team. You don't need a separate lawyer, an accountant, and a trust company. That's all Valur. We do this all in-house. Importantly, Guido and the others have pushed me to remember to mention that price is another differentiator here. Really important to note that Valur does the first 3 of these things at no cost to you or the client. I'll talk more about pricing at the end, but you can just kind of latch onto the idea that we're not charging anyone for setting up for using the tools, evaluating strategies, or drafting legal documents, or even getting the account set up and moving assets. Once we're administering the trust or whatever the strategy is that you're pursuing, then we charge an annual fee that's, I promise, lower than any of our competitors. But that's our model. We don't want there to be any, and Jason, there will be a recording available right after we're done here. We don't want there to be any barriers to entry for your clients. We don't want anyone to say, I don't want to even like take the first step because it's too expensive. That's not going to be a problem with what we're doing. So let's take it.
It is a good time to go directly to our products.
It is. So I'm going to share my screen now. Let's pull this up. New window. I'm going to go to the demo. Okay. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Okay. Hey Guido, I'm having
Oh, you're mute right now, Jeff, but
Guido, I'm having technical difficulties, as we said to the folks who were here very early. We were having some issues for the first time here. Are you able to share, Guido, your screen, and I can walk you through what we're gonna click on?
Yep. Let me do it.
I'm gonna.
Sorry about this. It can happen. In the meantime, I'm gonna present my screen. Just a second. And Paul, we don't do QPRTs right now. I'm gonna add Jeff here. Can you hear us, Jeff?
I can. Yeah, I'm here. There's something.
Sorry about that. And I'm trying to share my screen while we wait that Jeff joins again. Let's see if this
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
All right. I'm just on my laptop camera and mic, so I apologize if there's any reduction in quality, but we're going to do it this way. Why don't you go ahead and share, Guido, if you can?
I'm going to share my whole screen so that we could jump to the other tools afterwards.
So what we're going to be showing you all here is every step in that process, from ideation to evaluation to implementation and administration. So how do we get started? How would you get started working with your clients in Valur? One important thing to mention here is that we are flexible as to how you use us. We have advisor partners who jump straight into the tools I'm about to show you and use them, educate their clients, get them on board, and implement trusts without us at all. We have other partners who bring us into the fold and who loop us in at some point in what I'm about to show you. We'll talk about that. So Guido, if you click on Get Started there, folks, this is the guided planning tool that we've mentioned, and just click Start over. The idea here is that we're giving you the tools, and you can certainly share this with your clients. You don't have to. Guido, if you can just show estate tax, click on estate tax and not capital gains. We're going to keep this simple. We're letting you evaluate the availables, or rather identify the available strategies in each of these buckets so that you can share that with your client, including the education that's necessary. So we're going to speed through this. Guido, if you could put 500, and if you could put 15 million for the net worth. This is going to be, again, this is a case study using information from a client that we just worked with and an advisor from Morgan Stanley the other day. 500K of income, 15 million of net worth. You can skip the assets for now, Guido, and just go to next. But what we're giving you here is the tools to enter your client's information, and we're going to return to you a curated list of strategies that might make sense. So put age 47. The person was in California. They were married. And they had used some of their lifetime exemption. You can click that toggle. Yep. And what we're doing here, folks, is that we're narrowing this down based on the logic that we've built. This is proprietary. Our estate planning team has built logic here to get you to an answer to a list of, let's say, between 2 and 4 solutions. With as little information as we really need to ask for. We don't want to send you a 20-minute list of questions or the client. We want to give you just what we need to get to these answers. So if you click on now publicly traded assets, Guido, alternative assets, go back one, alternative assets as well. Yeah, and then here, 15 million, confirm, that's good, move on. They're planning for their children, grandchildren, and descendants. That's okay. Great. So what this is saying is that based on that logic and based on the answers you've given us, these 3 solutions are at the top of our list. Now, importantly, there might be 1 or 2 more that would be positive ROI, and we'll show you how to get to those, but we're really trying to give you 2 or 3, just the top of the list, the things that are going to be most valuable to you, because that's where most people start and finish. This is relevant to Paul's question. You asked whether we do QPERTs, QPR, Qualified Personal Residence Trusts. And the answer is we don't do QPERTs formally via this system right now. We've narrowed this down to the dozen or so solutions that solve 95% of problems. But importantly, 1, if you've got a need for QPERTs, we can do them. It's just a little bit less automated. And 2, if there's enough demand for QPERTs, then great, we'll build them in. We didn't offer ILETs a year ago, and now we do because there was just so much demand.
Probably also worth mentioning, Jeff, our type of product that we actually do afterwards.
Yeah, this is a good call out, Guido. I'm just going to run through this very quickly, and it'll be on the recording, and you all can get in touch and ask questions. But we work in 4 big categories of tax situation that really cover almost everything individuals are dealing with. Those being ordinary income, capital gains, qualified small business stock planning, which is of course related to capital gains, and then estate tax. So whether your clients are earning money from a W-2 or a business, whether they're selling some appreciated asset as capital gains or selling a small business in QSBS, or they're planning to move assets to the next generation via estate planning, we do have solutions there. Within the estate planning bucket, which is the broadest one and the one with the most solutions, you'll see some of the answers here. We do all kinds of things, really everything that you get from an estate attorney when it comes to planning for the next generation at a high level, we're going to do it. So GRATs, IDGETs, crummy trusts, ILETs, slats and slants, and I'm sure I missed some, but odds are if you need it and it's in that category, we do it. Guido, just check a couple of boxes here just to show you can compare these strategies. Again, you can share this with your client if you'd like. You can also use it for yourself to get educated. The point is to set you up and then eventually to set the client up with the tools necessary to say, all right, I think these 1 or 2 things might be what I want to pursue. And then go up, Guido. Importantly, from here, we want to empower you to run the numbers. So click on the compare estate tax savings on the left. This is also, it's a demo account, so it's not going to be perfectly linked up. And if you can just check on IDGET and let's do GRAT. And as you can see here, we've baked in the education. You can read more. It'll pull out a drawer with an article. It also copies over the client's information as well as a few assumptions. So if you told us that the client was 47 and from California and $15 million net worth, here it is. You can, again, tweak these assumptions if you'd like, but Guido, let's just click on next just to see what the output is. And what we're going to give you here, again, is a way to compare those things that you were looking at. This is a comparison between an IDGET and a GRAT. We don't need to get into whether that's the right comparison for you. This is what the system has thrown up, but it's also important that we, at every step, give you the opportunity to do more comparisons if your client asks, or if you decide that you want to look at something. So right here at the top, it says consider adding. The system has suggested that an ILET might actually be valuable, even though Guido didn't click on it. So we can click add, and it'll go right in there. You can also, if you go up, Guido, you can go back to update a comparison right there, and you can click on other things. You can compare more at the top there in the checkboxes. But if you click out of that, we don't need to add anything more. If you just click out of that, you're going to see a comparison, and it's going to be quantitative. And again, the point here is to set you up to help the client. These strategies are almost all going to be positive ROI. And we will, of course, show you if they're not. And I'll show you a case in a minute where they're not. But they're almost always going to be at least one strategy that's going to be positive ROI. And here we're talking about tens of millions of dollars of additional savings. Guido, if you click on the comparative data tab, we'll show you that, I'm just trying to read here, that at the longest possible term, which is essentially the actuarial expectation of this client's life, an ideate is going to earn them an extra 20-something% over doing nothing. And in fact, an ideate, there's some limitations with ideates, which we'll show, but an ideate's going to save them or earn them an extra 35%, an extra $29 million. We find that those green numbers matter a lot to clients. And so getting this in front of them is the best way to move forward. Guido just clicked on the product comparison. The idea here is that, again, we're giving you and the client the ability to look at these things side by side and compare them across the important metrics. And always to read more by reading those articles which are linked to related FAQs and things like that.
So I guess the next question, Jeff, here is, okay, what if I want to understand particularly something about a particular structure, right? Like, can we go directly to that calculator and try to understand more about the ROI and everything?
Absolutely. So I have a case study teed up. So I'm going to jump over to capital gains here, so if you click on the capital gains tax comparison, and you can click through here, client's information, just click through and you'll see that it's kind of a very similar comparison. Mm-hmm. Really importantly, if you click next, you'll see, I suspect that a CRUT will be given those inputs, that a CRUT will be the highest ROI. And it is, right? And so let's say this is in front of the client and they say, well, great, a charitable remainder trust is going to earn me an extra $3 million compared to anything else I could do. How do I really drill down? And that's what Guido's getting to. And the answer is the next step in our process, which is to look at a CRUT specifically. And so if you, Guido, go to the sidebar and click on the tax calculators, click on the CRUT calculator, which is down toward the bottom. And by the way, we are an evolving product. And so that link is an extra click. That extra click will be gone in a couple of weeks and you'll go straight over. But for now, you do that and you can find a CRUT specific calculator. Again, the goal here is to get you and your clients as far along in the process as you're comfortable going before you need us and before you're ready to go ahead and implement these strategies. And so we have a calculator like this for most of those strategies, and you can actually look at this CRUT as compared to doing nothing. And importantly, you can design or you can model different types of things. So in the CRUT calculator, you can model a lifetime trust, a term trust. You can do a standard CRUT or a NIM CRUT. You can adjust that payout rate. You can also always model different growth rates and other underlying assumptions. In other calculators, like let's say a GRAT calculator, you'd be able to edit the length of the GRAT, whether it's rolling or not, whether it's zeroed out. These are all the important things, but no more. Essentially giving you the tools to model, to make this look like it looks in real life. Guido was just clicking around there and showing you that if you're modeling a NIM CRUT, we let you change the withdrawal year by year, right? And actually model, what would you do with this money? We're not going to get into why that matters, right? If you've not done CRUTs before, this might not be obvious. The point is it matters, and we're trying to give you just enough control and granularity to get the answers that you and the clients need.
Importantly, Jeff, if we want to send to our clients an actual report, we can do this through our emails. And
That's
this
right.
report is important also because it's like educational content directly to customers in a more, let's say, easy way of reading and understanding it, right?
That's absolutely right. If I could share my screen, I would show you an example of that report. We'll send one out. You can also always go to the site here and just download it. Mm-hmm. Taking a step back for a second before I move on to the implementation phase, I want to mention that everything that you're seeing here is Valur branded, but we have the point and click capability to brand our site with your information if you'd like. And so we have dozens of partners who have put their logo, their color scheme, their scheduling link, their email, their picture on the site so that it feels like a more integrated part of their whole experience. and that's something that you're welcome to do. It's free and it's very easy, and it's just a way for you to kind of control things. Again, this is not my account, so Guido, we can't show this live, but I'll just mention that we also have a layer of advisor-oriented tools on the site where you can manage your clients. So you can invite a client to the platform, you can share calculations with them, you can see where they are in the process, you can bring colleagues and offer administrative privileges or not. There's a whole suite of kind of table stakes client and team management tools. We don't need to spend a lot of time on that, but just know that they're there and they make this whole experience for advisors seamless.
Exactly. It might also be important, Jeff, to say how we work with advisors right now, because we have a bunch of advisors that like to work in some kind of way, others that prefer to manage the whole relationship with their clients. I think that distinction might make sense here also. Right?
Absolutely. Let me answer. That's a great question. Let me answer a couple of questions that I saw piling up before I talk about that. Brent, do our CRUD calculators automatically update the federal rates, and does it show the tax deduction? The answer is yes. It doesn't automatically update the rates. We've built an API that updates the rates for us, but it does. Does it show the tax deduction? Yes. Guido, if you go to the bottom below that chart, you'll see some key data, including the charitable deduction. That's calculated right there. As you can see, it's in this case, it's almost exactly 10% of what the client put in, which was $10 million. It's usually 10%. If you tweak that payout rate, that number will change, of course. And yes, we calculate it. Jason asked the turnaround on, I think, Jason, were you asking about the turnaround time on the white labeled site? I'm going to assume that you were. And if you were, the answer is a day or two at most, usually shorter than that. Just our tech team has to take some inputs that you give us via a form and translate it to a site, but that'll happen very quickly. And actually, I'm going to put this in the link. Actually, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to mess with my StreamYard in case it screws things up. But we'll share a link where you can fill out that form and get the white label done quickly. Steve asked, can we be the CRUT trustee and hire Valur to do tax reporting? Absolutely. We build all of our strategies in a wholly modular way. And Jason, I see that you said you submitted and you haven't seen it. I can tell you that it's up, and I think that's just that our automated notification maybe went to spam, so that's our fault. But your site is up, and I'll send you an email after this with the link. So we build all of our strategies modularly to give you and the client as much control as you need. We have some defaults with a CRUT, for example. The client is by default their own trustee, and then they'll appoint you as the investment advisor for the trust. But in other cases, that's not the default. In other cases, the default is that either we're the trustee or the client has to appoint someone, a third party, like a family member. That's all baked into our onboarding process, which I'll talk about in a second. But the answer, Steve, is yeah. If you and the client decide that you or they want to be the trustee and hire Valur to do the reporting, great. We can set that up. Guido, you asked how we work with advisors, and this is a really important moment to pause. The way we do this with you all really does vary depending on what you need. In all cases, we're here to tag in as early and as much as you need. And so we have advisor partners who don't really want to worry about this stuff and just make a warm intro to us. And we'll take the ball from there, and we'll help the client, and it's all warm and fuzzy. And then by the end, when the trust is set up, we'll then hand the ball back to you, and we'll appoint you as the advisor on the custodial accounts, and you'll go off and run with it. Other advisors want to be much more involved. The second layer, the second version of that would be that you're involved in every call with the client. Maybe you're using the tools to prime them for things, and then you set up a call with us. We're available as much as you and the client need to educate. The median amount of time we spend with a client before they set up a strategy is about an hour and a half. You can be on those calls. You can quarterback. That's great. And then the extreme end, which some of our partners do, is you can use these tools, get the client on board, and actually implement it all without ever bringing us in. If you know this stuff and you know they want an ILIT, for example, go through the process, and I'll show you next how you actually get that document and get it finalized. So the answer is that it's really whatever level of involvement you want from Valur, we're here. It can be software-led, it can be human-led, it can be both. Guido, I know
we always try to make things easy, not only for the advisors, but also for the clients. A quick example of that is whenever our clients set up a structure with us, this is an example of we try to educate them on the next steps or the things that they need to do on their end, on our end, on the advisor's end. So all these little things is like the objective is to make things clear for everyone. So I think
absolutely. Yeah, that's a good call, Guido. And this is actually a big and maybe not that tech-oriented value add that we bring. Many of the trusts that we've taken over from other administrators, it's been because the client felt like they didn't know what was going on. They hadn't heard from the administrator, and it was now March, and their taxes were due in April. And there was no indication of what was happening next. We help with that partly with technology. I'll show you kind of how we track tasks and update clients on what they're doing in the platform. But also we have just kind of communication. We've automated some of that, and we've just been better than others about making sure that the clients are clear. Guido, if you can click on dashboard and we can show the next step, or actually, I guess just click on set up trust up there on the right. Let's say the client is ready to go, wants to pursue a CRUD. I'm not sure if that's gonna work. Just click out of there, and I just want to show that you can do this, right from really any page. Click on set up trust, and it'll take you right to the onboarding workflow for the particular thing that you were looking at. We can click through this quickly. If this were my account, it'd be even quicker. But just pick a random age. It really doesn't matter. You're going to see there are about 10 screens here where we're collecting personal information, and this is going to be more or less the same across all of our trusts, although it'll vary a little bit by type of trust. What we're doing is, again, we're collecting only the information that we need. That's going to be a 5-digit number for the zip code, Guido, in the US. I'm not sure if it'll accept it. We're only collecting the information necessary while also educating the client on what they need to do. 3 digits and then 3 and then 4, 4 before, and then there you go. All right, put my number in 415. Do +1 415. Just replace the whole thing. Yeah, but that should work. That should work. 990. Yeah,
there should
just try that with the area code. It should be fine.
There you go.
There we go. You can click through. We ask for beneficiaries. Just say no, just to make this quick. We collect beneficiaries. We collect trustees. Just click through. This says that they're their own trustee. Sometimes the default is Valur. You'll tell us your name, your citizenship status. You'll name your trust. While Guido's clicking through here, the point is that we're making this feel like it's a non-existent process. Really, we don't want the client to feel like this is a slog. It's going to be very straightforward. We explain at every step why we're asking what we're asking. Just click a citizenship. That number shouldn't be a blocker, Guido. And then when necessary, if you click through here, you're going to get to a page where you have to make an actual substantive decision. Is this a NIM CRUT? Keep going. Is this a NIM CRUT? Say you're not married, just to make it, say you're not married, and we'll go right through. We're going to ask you, is this a NIM CRUT? Is this just click through here.
This is a good.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun one. You can generate a random trust name. Just again, trying to make this a little pleasant. Here, this is really important. In most cases, you and we will have worked together to educate the client, and they'll have an answer to this question: what type of trust do they want? Or if it's a GRAT, how long? Or if it's an ideate, who are the beneficiaries? They'll know that already in 99% of cases. But if they don't, we'll educate them. We'll help them learn that right here on the platform. You can click Learn More. There will be a guide to that question as well as related articles that'll help them understand how they make that decision. You can also click on that chat down in the bottom right, and we staff that about 20 hours a day, maybe a little more. We're in almost every time zone. And we'll walk you through it. And again, the point is in some ways not about the technology. It's just to make the client feel comfortable. Again, you can always fill this out for the client or they can do it themselves, but the point is to click through. Guido, just click through the next few screens very quickly. Just next. This is all of the decisions you have to make about the trust. It only enables things that the client is eligible for. So you can see here that they can't do a maximum length trust given their age. So it's not an option, and we'll explain why right there on the page. Eventually you get to the end here, and you're going to see a screen that I think is the key to this whole thing. This screen tells the client you're done and what's next. You can see there that flashing beacon at the top tells you that Valur is drafting your documents. It also shows you the information that you have here. You can go back and edit that as necessary. But we've also received your request now to get a trust. And I don't know if you heard the ding, but I just got a notification on my computer that the system was generating the trust. We've got 5 minutes. I want to speed through this, but I do want to take a beat to talk about how we do this, right? Where does that document come from? This is a question that a lot of people ask, and it's really important for trust and for kind of confidence from clients and advisors. Everything that we do is tech-enabled, but is a fundamentally human thing. And so all of our trust documents came from a draft, or in many cases, a series of drafts written by our in-house trust and estates legal team, all coming from fancy law firms and fancy schools. I don't have my diplomas up behind me, but you can look me up. We are all well qualified, and these documents are written by people who have been doing this for 5, 10, 15, 20 years in the business. We draft all of our documents, and then we build the technology around it. And so if you file for a CRUT, if you ask for a CRUT, what you're getting is a document that is personalized based on the answers that you've given. And the document is one of, I think, about 57 permutations of type of trust that depend on, do you have one or more beneficiaries? Are you the trustee or is someone else? Is it a NIM CRUD or a standard CRUD or a flip CRUD? How long is it lasting? Do you have a backup trustee or not? Are you naming a charity up front or not? These are all the kinds of things that we collect in onboarding, and it results in an output. We then always review that output to make sure that it actually did what you asked for in the system. Again, to just kind of have duplicative checks, redundant checks to avoid human error, even though it is technology doing most of this. And then we get you a document. Again, I can't share my screen, so we'll share an example after the fact here. But
Jeff, I want you to share with me that document through Slack, and I can share my screen again, or we could do it afterwards as you wish.
I'm just gonna talk about it. This one actually, it's not that interesting visually. What you get within 24 hours here across all of our strategies is an annotated document with plain English explanations of the key features of the trust. Really, you get an explanation of every paragraph, and then a big, bold green box explaining the really important ones. And that way you can study up and know how to answer your clients' questions, but also your clients can read. And I've been candidly surprised to see how many of our prospective clients do read those documents. And it's great. We're happy to answer questions about that. Usually things don't change, but at this point you get the document. If there are changes that you want or the client wants, you talk with us, we make the changes as necessary. And then we finalize the document. We notarize it online in most states. We facilitate that. We open the custodial accounts. We appoint you as the trust investment advisor. And then we're off and running. Valur handles keeping the trains running.
Jeff, I have a question there. Sorry to interrupt, but you spoke about it a bit previously. Do we charge anything until that point, for example?
Yeah, this is a good time to pause. And I'm going to run over by a few minutes. I hope folks can stick around. I see the numbers staying steady, which is good. Up to the point that we just described, where we've drafted your trust, notarized it, opened the custodial accounts, and transferred the assets in. Up to that point, $0 for anything. And that's true across our trusts, across our other strategies. If you're pursuing solar or oil and gas for ordinary income, PPLI, the setup and the advising are absolutely free. And that's just an unheard of model and really important one for us. We want people to be willing to go all the way to the precipice and get this thing in place before feeling like they're halfway committed to paying. Because even at that point, we're not locking them in. If they want to go and hire someone else to do the administration, we're not going to stop them. I think that speaks to our confidence here and the fact that really no one does that because they like our process and they're happy with it, that we're willing to let you run off and leave the platform if you want to. People just don't. And then I guess the last point on the linear process is once we're administering, we're doing a lot of the things that you'd get from others more cheaply. So we do the tax filings, the accounting for the trust, but you've also, again, got that tech layer, which adds a couple of things. One, you can always see what's going on with your trust right on the platform. You can make changes as necessary. Say you want to change the charitable beneficiary of your CRUT, do that on here. If you want to change the contingent beneficiaries of your GRAT, go for it. You can all do that right on the platform without having to call someone up or send in a paper form. And then also importantly, we use technology to optimize these things. And this is something that really no one else is doing. If you've got a CRUT, there are important steps to take to reduce the tax that you'll pay on the distributions from the CRUT. If you've got a GRAT, there are important steps to take that help you maximize the value of that rolled over annuity via a rolling grat strategy. We automate that entire process. With a grad, if you select a rolling grat at the end of the first year, again, you don't need to know much about this strategy. The point is that you have to set up a second grat. And historically, you'd go to your lawyer and say, hey, I want to roll this into a second grad, and they'd draft it and you'd pay them and it would take some time. With Valur, it's the click of a button. We email you at the end of the first year, send you a notification on the platform and say, hey, you selected a rolling grat, confirm that you want to do it. You hit yes, and your second grat exists. Got to sign it, which is a little friction, but we're using technology to make all of that incredibly simple, really bordering on invisible to you and the clients in a good way. You can focus on growing the money, and we'll focus on doing everything else. As Guido's showing here, all of your tasks, upcoming events are captured on the platform. We notify you when there's an important date coming up. Hey, your taxes are due on April 15th. We sent you a document for signature. Click here. All of that's done on platform as well as by email. The advisor is copied on everything. You can also make the selection in your administrative section that you want to be the sole point of contact if that's what you want. Again, the point here is to be completely bespoke as much as you need and to help you run your practice the way that you want. That's the entire process. I haven't spent any time on the substance, really, what we do in terms of the strategies. That's a subject for another day. As I think I mentioned very briefly, we've got solar and oil and gas for ordinary income. If you want to pull up the slides again, Guido, just for that last little thing with scheduling links and things like that. We've got CRUTs and CLATs and opportunity zones and various things that we help with on capital gains, although we focus on CRUTs because they're the highest ROI. We do all kinds of estate tax. An important note here as we wrap up, and I'm going to try to keep it pretty quick at this point. The question that always arises at this point in the conversation is twofold. One is, what's the next step? And we'll talk about that. And two is, as I'm thinking about the next step, which is coming up with some clients for us to run through together, the question is, who can this help? Who should I be looking for? Which clients of mine might be a fit here? And there's no hard and fast answer. And there's really two ways to think about this. One is run through the system, enter their info, and see what it says. It's going to tell you if there's a positive ROI strategy. But as shorthand, if you're just going out and canvassing your clients, you should be thinking about people who make more than $500,000 a year, or who are selling an asset for, let's say, $1 million or more, or who have an estate of $5-7 million and are relatively young, or they're over the estate tax limit already and they're older. These are the folks who can benefit immediately. But what I always tell people is never rule somebody out. There's almost always something we can do to help. We're not going to push it if the answer is that nothing is positive ROI, or the ROI is negligible and it's not worth the hassle and the overhead. We'll tell you that. But we have clients who make $200,000 a year who are pursuing ordinary income strategies. We have clients who put $300,000 into a CRUD. We have clients who only who had their first $1 million exit, who are starting their estate tax planning journey. Doesn't hurt to get started. So yeah, those are the folks we want to talk to. And in terms of those next steps, what we find really valuable with our advisor partners is for you to get in touch and to schedule a call. If you've already talked to us once and we've given you the overview, the next step is a deep dive into your clients. And there are a couple of ways we can do that. We make time with you to sit down and either run through your client list or encourage you to come with a couple of your highest value clients who you think would be a fit. And we'll run through their situation, and we'll have our team there to discuss specific solutions to give you comfort that you know how to use our tools, how to evaluate, how to identify strategies, and you can be off and running and bringing those clients in to set something up. So if you haven't already, schedule a call with us. Just go to valur.com, click on the scheduling link at the top. You can always go to valur.com/schedule and set up a call with us. We love to talk. We'll have half an hour to chat about these things in your practice. And if you've already done that with us, then let's go deeper. Let's talk about clients. What we find is that this is often kind of slow, fast for advisors, right? They come in, they have that first call, and they're waiting to kind of understand this stuff and to get that first one done. And once they do, then they're doing multiple. And so, most of our business comes from repeat advisors and their clients, where once you know this stuff, you're spotting, qualified candidates all over the place, and you're doing multiple CRUTs a month, and you're having everybody do ordinary income planning. So keep an eye out for it, and really, I strongly encourage you all to schedule a call with us so we can chat. Guido, that was a whirlwind, and I appreciate you running the tech side of things. Anything you feel like I missed or we should circle back on?
No, I think that was great. Just a question from Jason related to risks in solar, oil and gas.
Let me, Jason. That's a big topic, unsurprisingly. Solar and oil and gas are very different. Each one demands a 10-minute conversation at least. So why don't you just email me and we'll find some time. I think.
And just to take into account, our next webinar next week is about this topic in particular. So it might be a good idea to also join to that one.
Yeah, if you join that one, we're going to be talking about specifically both solar, and I think we'll be talking about oil and gas, even though it's not a renewable, it's still part of that same constellation of solutions. You can also, a little plug for our knowledge library. If you go to learn.valur.com and in the search bar, just look for oil and gas, you'll find a top-level guide, case studies, deeper dives, and you'll be able to answer those questions pretty quickly that way too. So yeah, appreciate you all sitting in. Looks like almost nobody churned out before the 51-minute mark. So appreciate you all listening. I know we've talked to many of you already. Those who we have, we'd love to talk again. If we haven't yet, schedule a call. You'll get me, you'll get Guido, and we'll be able to get you up and running. So appreciate everyone's time. Thanks, Guido, for running things, and we'll talk to y'all soon.
Thank you. See you next time.